Hey everyone, welcome back to 996. The Howl training camps preseason are underway. The only injury I'm pretty sure so far is just Phil Kessel with an injured foot, but you can bet your life savings he's going to be there game one of the regular season. He doesn't want to ruin his Iron Man streak. And of course, I'm pretty sure they're never wearing this jersey ever again in the history of the universe. Only wearing the white kachina, the black kachina, and the red Howling Yote jerseys. So pretty sure this jersey is now discontinued. But you know what? In September, it was a 1 year anniversary since Bill Armstrong was named general manager of the Arizona Coyotes. Just want to give my brief thoughts about him. Nothing too formal, mostly off the cuff. It was a quiet start for Bill Armstrong, obviously on the ice. He didn't make a trade until December due to the shortened season. No one really knew if hockey was even going to be played at the end of the 2020 year, going into 2021. He made a lot of office changes, hockey operation changes, revamping the whole scouting department, gained some good veteran experienced scouts from around the league, just revamping it so that they could start drafting well and start getting a cohesive plan, a cohesive direction on where they want to go. And like I said, his first trade came in December, right before training camps, when he traded Derek Stepan for Josh Doan. Yeah, I mean, that trade is unbelievable. Obviously, it was a second round pick at the time. Ottawa's second round pick, which was actually the Columbus pick. Ottawa traded DeZingle for Anthony Duclair and that second round pick, and then lost Duclair, and then gave that second to Arizona for Derek Stepan. And then Coyotes get Josh Dona, that second round pick, and they signed Ryan DeZingle in free agency. So it looks like the Coyotes made out like bandits in that trade. And that was his only trade for a really long time. He signed Derek Brassard right before training camps in the 2021 season, which I thought was a good stopgap and a good replacement for Derek Stepan. And I believe Derek Brassard had a lot more to give than Derek Stepan. And he played okay. He probably played better than what Derek Stepan would have played. He was faster, a bit more playmaking ability, a nasty slapper. I believe Derek Brassard scored a couple goals, a slapper down the wing. And then trade deadline was looming. Bill Armstrong stayed put, stayed packed. He said he believed in the team. The team had a lead in the final spot in the Honda West Division. And then after the trade deadline, the team just collapsed, lost a playoff spot, and lost confidence in Bill Armstrong, which led to the trades of the 2021 offseason. It was a hard truth to face as a Arizona Coyotes fan. I believe there was two camps if you're a Coyotes fan. You wanted the rebuild even before Bill Armstrong signaled that he was doing a rebuild, or you're probably in the same camp as me where you didn't want to face the truth that the team needed to rebuild again. You thought they could build on the players they currently had. They had a young core, maybe not hitting their potential. Maybe a new coach might shine a new light on these players. But unfortunately, Bill Armstrong didn't think of that. And it first started with it was either the Andrew Ladd trade or the Hill trade. They were days and hours apart. I'll say the Ladd trade was first. Now, he didn't give up anything in that Ladd trade. He just got Andrew Ladd and some draft picks for taking the cap dump from the New York Islanders. And that didn't really signal to me yet. It was odd. Not odd. I mean, we were very familiar with taking on big contracts. John Shaika was a master of it and was one of the pioneers taking on bad contracts for value. And then hours later, that Aiden Hill trade caught everyone by surprise. Coyotes fans knew we would have to expose Hill, but maybe there were some shenanigans or some maneuvers Bill Armstrong could do to expose some other players to distract the Seattle Kraken from taking Aiden Hill. But Bill Armstrong got some good value out of Aiden Hill, getting a second round pick and an immediate replacement in Josef Kojanaj. Now, I would say Aiden Hill is better than Kojanaj, but Kojanaj is younger, is a prospect, and hasn't reached that level of Aiden Hill just yet. I do not think Aiden Hill is a starter just yet. Also, so the Sharks maybe a bit wary to throw him as a starter. In my mind, I was hoping Kemper and Hill would be the tandem. Obviously, Kemper gained the majority of the games, and Aiden Hill gained his first crack as a permanent NHL backup, which he has yet to do. And I believe this season he will be, or I don't know, between him and Reimer, he might be the starter. So we'll see how that goes. But a common theme in all the trades Bill Armstrong has went through this offseason, he's gotten great value, or even, you know, he got value over what the player was valued. Aiden Hill for a second round pick, San Jose's second round pick, who might be a basement team this year, who will most likely will be a basement team this year. That's pretty good. And then getting Dvorak for a first round pick is awesome. He couldn't get that lottery protection taken off. A lot of Coyotes fans kind of disappointed in that. But I think, Montreal's in a weird position where they're in a really tough division. They didn't have a great regular season last year. They had an amazing playoffs going really far to the final, obviously. But in the regular season, they didn't do too much better than the Coyotes, and they managed to make the playoffs in a weak division and went really far with their opportunities. So, it's most likely they will probably miss the playoffs, and so I'm sure Mark Bergevin wanted insurance that they weren't giving away a top 10 pick. And to be honest, Dvorak is not worth a top 10 pick. If the pick is between 11 and 20, that's more fair value for Dvorak. If it's between 11 and 13, Coyotes run away with that trade. If it's in the late teens, it's pretty even trade. And then acquiring Shane Gostisbehere, one of the few acquisitions next to Connor Timmins where it's a player that's going to be on the team for at least one more year after this season. A lot of the acquisitions Bill Armstrong made this offseason are on expiring contracts. So I'm excited to see what Shane Gostisbehere brings to the table. It's a new environment. His career in Philadelphia kind of went down in the dumps, so maybe some new scenery will help him. And then trading Darcy Kemper for a first round pick and Connor Timmins. That was tough to swallow because it's a divisional rivalry, giving them a great goaltender, an elite goaltender in Kemper, but you're getting back a first round pick. Now that pick will be later in the draft, high 20s, maybe early 30s if Kemper stays healthy. Connor Timmins, who's a prospect, a great D-man, who couldn't crack top six in Colorado because their defense is just excellent. The caliber of defenseman Colorado has is exceptional. So it was hard for Timmins to crack consistently. He'll also get that opportunity in Arizona. So excited to see what he brings. But, Bill Armstrong acquiring a lot of draft picks. He has 5 second-round picks next draft, 3 first-round picks. He's acquired players who have been leaders in the past and veteran players who are playing for contracts for next year. So he's mentioned in his press conference before training camp that it's a hungry team. Everyone in that locker room has something to play for, whether you're a veteran player where your career went the wrong way and this is your final stop to rectify it, or you're an AHL guy like Yannick or Soderstrom or Hayden that you want a permanent job in the NHL, you're fighting for that. You're Jacob Chikrin, who wants to take that next step and officially be the captain of the Coyotes. Or you got Keller and Schmaltz and Krause, even Fisher, where their careers have kind of stalled a bit. They want to prove that they're high-end players, more so Keller, Schmaltz, and maybe Krause, not Fisher. But Keller and Schmaltz have something to prove. If they want to stay with the team, they have to prove that they could hit about over 50 points standard. If they crack 60, that's a win for them in their career numbers. Phil Kessel wants to go to a cup contender. Well, you have to play really well for half the season in Arizona and see where you go. So Bill Armstrong has built a team where they're hungry. They're all fighting for something. Yes, on paper, it's a full tank job, but it's a new coach as well. Bill Armstrong is busy getting a whole new coach and a new assistant coach. He's kept Phil Housley and Corey Stillman on board from Talkett's staff, but he got a new coach who wants to implement a new system, wants to implement good pace, good competitiveness. Bill Armstrong wants a competitive team. And if you look at these, departures, and if you look at players John Shaika used to bring in, a lot of them weren't competitors. A lot of them were analytic darlings who could maybe put the puck in the net, like Vinny Hinestroza, Osterley, Richard Panik. Kemper was an amazing acquisition. Keller is a high-end analytic guy who puts pucks in the net. He's been struggling a bit, but not a competitive guy. Jacob Chikrin was really a John Shaika acquisition, which was a draft selection, who is highly competitive. OEL, who wasn't a John Shaika acquisition, neither was Dvorak, but they weren't competitive night in and night out. Connor Garland was, but listening to Bill Armstrong, he wants competitiveness night in and night out. He doesn't want the team to be embarrassed when they face high-end teams like they were last season, where if you saw Minnesota, Vegas, or Colorado on the schedule, it was a blowout. Coyotes, nobody showed up except for Michael Bunting, who was a competitive guy, I would agree, but unfortunately he signed with Toronto on his own will. But that those games where it's blowouts and it's embarrassing, they need to end. They need to build a culture where they're competing every night and they want to win. And even though they're set up to fail, sort of, with the talent they have on the ice, they're all fighting for something. They're all hungry to stay in the NHL and prove something in the NHL. And so all I want is a competitive team. And Bill Armstrong has said he's built a competitive team. He was very emotive and very very jovial in the press conference, laughing, smiling, giving some good answers, which you want your general manager to do. But it looked like, after seeing that rookie tournament, he mentioned that there was the sun breaking through the dark clouds, and the way the team competed in those 3 games is a foundation he wants to build for the Coyotes going forward in the NHL level. And already in the draft selections they've selected already, they've picked competitive players who are tough to play against, who set a good pace. He mentioned Dylan Guenther's incredible shot. Moser, who was a defenseman they acquired in the draft, a good competitive pacemaker, and Ben McCartney, who's a 7th-round pick. He mentioned him as well, saying what a competitive force he is. So it's obvious Bill Armstrong wants a competitive team night in and night out. That's what he's built already through some few draft selections, and he even admitted himself that they're farther along than they really anticipated. So that shows me that they really want higher draft picks in next draft and maybe the draft after. Some of the selections they've already made are pushing them a little bit further, but just a little bit. Obviously, they're not going to not tank anymore. Just with Dylan Guenther, McCartney, Michelli, Mannix Landry, and Josh Doan. Obviously, they need higher draft picks and more draft picks for the next 2 drafts at the least. So that's the direction Bill Armstrong took the team. It was a whirlwind of an off season. It was a busy year for Bill Armstrong, and hopefully he gets to relax and just see how it unfolds throughout the season. And hopefully they are competitive, but I don't see them cracking a wild card spot at all. But just a competitive team. The bar is set really low because Talkett's first year they went winless in 11 games or 12 games. So the bar is set really low, but I'm excited for the future and want to see a new team, a new competitive team that doesn't fold under the pressure when things get tough and they face adversity like they did under Rick Tocchet and previous management. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.